Welcome to the Universal Broadcasting Network's Hit Afternoon Show, bringing you the latest in music news, artist interviews, and more, with your hosts, Lauren Dair and Sean Lusk. This is the Music Project.
And I'm Sean Lusk.
And this is the Music Project. It is Grammy Sunday. Sunday here at Los Angeles. And I guess the world, it's Grammy Sunday.
Yeah.
And we will not be covering the Grammys today, but we will be covering it on our next show and kind of talking about what we liked, what we didn't like, where we think it's going to be going, and all of that fun stuff. So stay tuned for that.
Definitely.
Today, however, we have a really awesome band on the show with us called Me Not You. They are calling all the way from New York. How are you guys doing this morning? Or I guess it's afternoon for you guys now. Oh, hang on one second. Let's try that again. Can we hear you better now?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry about that. We had a weird connection issue, but you guys are calling all the way from New York, so it's probably, so you guys are 3 hours behind us, I think?
Yep.
Yep, absolutely.
Still feels like it's about 9 a.m. here, though. We're on the
You're on musician time, you know? It's like afternoon is your morning, technically.
Today, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for taking, an hour out of your busy Sunday afternoon to hang out with us and talk a little bit about this music that you're releasing.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. We're very excited to do it.
Perfect. Well, we're here with Nikki and Eric, and so tell us just a little bit, I guess, for each of you, how you got started in music and how this led to you two working together and creating Me Not You.
Yeah, sure. So we've both been playing music just for a really long time. I started playing piano when I was a little kid, so it's always been a part of my life. And then I met Eric. We had a mutual friend that went to his high school that I dated for a little while, so we kind of just met as friends. And we kind of hung out and started playing music together casually, and everything just kind of clicked. And Eric, I don't know if you want to talk about your guitar background. Eric's a guitar god, basically.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been playing guitar my whole life, and my favorite thing to do. And then a bit more lately, got more into producing music, and that's kind of how Nikki and I started working together. It's just kind of in the studio and home studio vibes, and grew from there.
Where did you learn to play guitar?
I took lessons when I was a kid, and I just kind of listened to everything and tried to, figure out stuff I was hearing on the radio and everywhere, and just kind of played with different people and learned a lot from the people I was playing with, and I've learned a lot from Nikki as well, because we've been playing together now for a bit. And it's fun because we're now starting to, we only have, the 2 songs out, and we obviously do all the playing in the studio, but we're now starting to think about playing our first show, and we have to figure out kind of how to pull off all the guitar stuff live, because there's a lot of layers and stuff on the recorded song. So that's kind of a new thing we're trying to figure out, and I'm geeking out, getting into guitar pedals and doing all that stuff. So
well, that's definitely the hard part is, taking these songs and making sure they, first of all, translate well to a live show aspect, but also making it so it's a little bit different and a little bit more fun, because when you're playing it, and some bands you go and see, they sound exactly like their record, which is great. It means they're solid musicians, but at the same time, it's I could have stayed home and listened to the record, So it's nice when you can go to a show and you can find something that's a little bit different or a little bit unique and really change up how the song sounds without messing it up too much, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's actually one of the most fun things, for us as musicians, is interpreting. I mean, a lot of what we create is, we have guitars and everything in the studio, but we create in the studio, and we have access to, everyone today, to whatever sounds we want.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the fun thing is putting the live show together, and it's okay, how do we translate this? How do we make it a rocking show that's really fun to play and really fun to go to? And so that's kind of what we're about to do now that we've started putting music out, and we're getting excited to play live.
Awesome. Well, when you guys kind of came together and you decided, hey, we're going to start this project, obviously you had your own music backgrounds that started before, you met each other. But who did you look to for inspiration? What was the music that kind of drove you to be like, hey, I want to be a musician?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's over the course of life, it changes. With this project, like, there's certain things that I think Nikki and I were both gravitating towards, and it kind of like channeled itself into what we're doing. I've been lately obsessed with the band My Bloody Valentine, kind of like an early '90s, like, shoegaze guitar arsenal vibe, and that's definitely like found its way into our stuff, especially on like the production level.
Especially now that you're like getting obsessed with all your new guitar pedals, you're like,
yeah,
My Bloody Valentine is the best guitar pedal.
I got to make sure I don't go off the deep end and just like only fuck with guitar pedals all the time. I got to like make sure I'm still within the confines of the band. But that's been definitely some of the early '90s kind of grungier guitar music is something that I've gone into lately.
Pixies. I feel like whenever we write bass lines, like they inevitably end up sounding like the Pixies, and sometimes we have to like step back and we're like, is this actually a Pixies bass line? And it's not on purpose. We just both love them, and so that ends up coming out a lot. And we've both always been really big fans of Radiohead. I think that's in there, as well as like modern stuff too. Obviously we're influenced by what's happening now, but like I'd say like of the classic influences that we grew up with, those are kind of big ones.
Last year, both Nikki and I were obsessed with the Miguel record, which is kind of totally different than those bands we were just talking about, but he's just so brilliant at like mixing everything into just this awesome stew of brilliance. I don't know, it's like it's modern and kind of old school at the same time.
As far as inspiration goes, is there any like specific musician that you learned the most from?
That's a good. I'm trying to think.
I wish I could answer and say Lou Reed, because I actually think that the Velvet Underground is like the coolest band of all time. We were just talking about that the other day.
Yeah,
so I didn't really learn like everything from him, but if I could learn from one person the most, I would say it would be him.
That's
and
awesome.
Lou Reed's like a secret guitar god himself. Like he was a total. Everyone thinks of him as like a songwriter and a singer, lyricist and everything. But he like loved just like freaking out with the guitar and pedals and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, that's definitely a great answer.
I find it so funny where you find inspiration from, because a lot of times, and a lot of artists that we talk to, it comes from something that is totally not their genre. So you have someone who comes in who's I don't even know, country, and they listen to like hardcore rap, or they listen to metal music, and they're just like, oh well, I really liked this part of it. I'm like, well, then why aren't you doing that? They're like, because it wasn't, it's not what I wanted to do, but I drew it. I drew bits and pieces from this different type of music. So whether you're listening to Lou Reed or you're listening to Miguel, even though you're not the carbon copy of that, you can find your little, the little things that you like from it and use it as your own.
For sure. And I actually think like as a musician, like when you go through life, it's kind of like, the best thing is when you internalize your influences, and if you've been, listening to them for a really long time, and like, I don't know, it's like you're not trying to rip anything, and you're not trying to sound like anyone else. It's just like, I think ideally like the music that you love gets into your bones, and it's still your own voice that comes through. It's just like, it's taking notes from everything along the way, but like ultimately it's like your own thing, I think, ideally.
And I feel like that's why also when you're looking at people that get into lawsuits over having similar songs or whatever, they say it has to be 80%, because there's only so many things that you can do. There's only so many melodies that can be written, and so many chord changes that can be written, and whatever it is. And so when they say 80%, it's because the only reason we learn and we grow as musicians is because we watch the people who came before us. And that's the only way it can be done, So I feel like that's a good argument at the fact that it's like, yes, these two songs might sound similar, but they were created with totally different intentions, and it's a really beautiful thing to watch.
That is, and actually, it's pretty funny just to segue off that too, because like talking about influences, like the blog posts that we've gotten about our songs, people sometimes call out bands that we've never even like heard before or listened to, and then we obviously go back and listen to them. We're like, oh yeah, I guess we do share something in common. But like sometimes you'd be like, I swear that band has this other band as an influence because they sound a lot like them. When in reality, people also end up at the same place from somewhere else. It goes the other way too.
Yeah, it's been like a fun music education every time like someone tweets about us being like, they sound like this band, and then we like go and listen and they're pretty cool, you know. But it's like a totally new way to check out music for us.
Yeah, because certain things you don't hear about yourself, you know. Like I remember one person, I was at a show, and somebody came up to me afterwards and like, your voice sounds like Demi Lovato, and I'm like, I've never really listened to her. I mean, yeah, when I was 12 and watching Camp Rock or whatever, but you know, I never really followed her music or anything. So for me, that was a big surprise. And then I went and listened. I'm like, okay, I guess I could kind of hear it, but that's not what I was going for. And so people and your fans, the people who really are, you know, absorbing your music, they're gonna notice things that you wouldn't have even thought of in 1,000 years.
Yeah, everyone has their own way to like compare, and obviously bloggers, like that's like the first thing they do is like, what does it sound like? You know, and like it makes sense that people use comparisons as a way to understand things. So it's just always it's fun. It's a fun game for us to be like, okay, who are we gonna get compared to now?
Luckily, so far we've really liked all the bands that we've been compared to that we didn't know. So we checked them out. We're like, oh, cool, this band is dope. That's awesome.
And one of them, there's been some that we like really like. Like one of them, the British band Black Honey, and we started like tweeting back and forth with them, and we like down the line might end up like playing shows with them or something. And it's just funny how those kind of connections could happen because the blogger thinks you guys sound alike or whatever, you know?
Has there ever been a comparison that you went and listened to and you're like, I don't hear it whatsoever?
Let's see.
We're just getting started, so I'm sure that will happen.
I don't know.
You guys heard of Metric a lot, who I get that.
Yeah.
A band we never really listened to, but I think it's your voice probably mostly.
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah. I think so far all the comparisons have been like pretty normal sounding.
Yeah.
Solid.
So
we'll let you know once we get some more songs out there and see if any weird comparisons come up.
Please do. I'm always curious. I'm because the comparisons are always really interesting things. You know, it's like if Elton John had a techno child with Lorde or something like that,
what?
and you're like,
okay,
I'll hear that.
Yeah,
that's really good.
That sounds great.
So I just love hearing comparisons like that because some of them are just so far out there, but yet they make sense. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So you guys mentioned that you haven't
when
done.
we put out Bulletproof, like one of the first things was like, it sounds exactly like Tame Impala. Like this sound, and like we were like, we like Tame Impala, but like it sounds exactly like it sounded like a really crazy like track to make. It wasn't a blog, it was someone on SoundCloud, I think, but I found that funny.
Yeah, for sure.
So you guys mentioned that you haven't performed together as Me Not You, but before this project came together, did you guys do any performances as like solo artists or in other bands or anything?
We were in a band together for a couple years called Little Daylight, and we played a ton, and that band sort of bled into this new project.
Oh, okay, cool. Was there any like cool particular shows that you enjoyed?
As Little Daylight.
Oh yeah, we had some really fun shows.
Yeah, we were only together for a couple of years, 3 years I think, but we played Governor's Ball in New York City, which is like our big outdoor festival here, and that was amazing. We played a show in LA, a headline show, The Troubadour, that was just like epic. It was
my
favorite venue.
That's me and Lauren's favorite venue out here. They have such good sound, and they're backstage as well.
We played there 3 or 4 times. It's always is a party.
Yeah, we love that spot. There's so much history, and it's just so fun.
I'm headed there in a couple weeks and catching Colony House there, and I'm so stoked because it's my favorite venue, and it's one of those things where you walk in and it looks like it's nothing special. It looks just like another dive bar, but the minute that that room gets filled up, it's a whole other world.
I know, it looks so much bigger when the room's sold out.
It is, and from a performer perspective, it's such a fun room to play too, because like, I don't know, there's just something about like, you guys know what I'm talking about, like the space of a room really influences how you can interact with the audience.
Yeah.
Like there's some venues that don't give themselves as well to like, you can't really see them or they're a little far away or whatever it is. And there's something about that stage that it's like, the room is just small enough where you really feel like you can vibe really well with everyone that's there. And when it's filled up, it's like just such a great energy you can have with the people there. So when it's a good show, it's like so much fun.
Yeah, and they have the scaffolding that goes off the side of the stage. You know what I'm talking about, Lauren? Like,
yeah.
You can climb up that and go all the way to the top.
It's like it's not the biggest stage in the world. It's not like you're playing Staples Center, you're playing this huge stadium. But when you're on it and when the room is full and you have really dedicated fans who are there, it feels just as big.
For sure. And there's so much history there too. It's a great location. Like it's just a cool spot.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we have your first song queued up. We have Bulletproof. So tell us a little bit about this song.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So like we mentioned, we were in another band before this one, Little Daylight, and there was actually a third member of the band. So it was the three of us, and we had been kind of in the studio making some more new music, and we basically just, came to a position where we were like, okay, well, maybe it's not working out as well, and the third member kind of just went on to do his own thing. And we sort of took a break at that point and took a second to like reevaluate what we were doing. And then we came back, and as the two of us, we just sort of like wrote this song. It was super fast. It was the first song we wrote together as a duo, and it just like came together really easily. We wrote the lyrics really fast. We weren't even really sure like what the song was about when we wrote it. Mm-hmm. And then after some time went by, we looked back on it. We're like, wow, like this song is 100% just about what was going on at that time. Like the old band kind of ending and a new band forming, and as time goes on, you're like, okay, like that's definitely just like this statement of like what was happening and how we were feeling at that time. And there was just really something that was like so cool about how the song came together, and what it represented for us. That's why we ended up putting it as the first song out. So that's the story behind that one.
I like it. Let's go ahead and take a listen to Bulletproof by Me Not You. That was Bulletproof by Me Not You, and I dig it. I love the sound of it, and I'm really curious, and I want to ask, so you said that you were Little Daylight beforehand. You guys kind of took a break, came back, started this as a duo. How do you feel the music really evolved from that first group into this new project?
It was very organic. I mean, when we kind of Little Dair had a 3-year run. We did all kinds of everything we really ever wanted to do. We toured all over the country. We played for festival crowds and stuff. And then when the band sort of ended, we took some time both to ourselves and then also together. We came out to LA for a little bit to kind of get out of New York. And when we got back in the studio, we kind of just went with our gut on everything, more than we ever had. We just kind of, I'd be saying to the computer, I'd create a little sound, and then Nikki would react to it and start playing guitar and writing melodies, and it was just using only intuition, really, I would say, right? Like, just going with our gut more than ever before, and definitely like a song like Bulletproof, that's like exactly how that song came out. We weren't thinking like, this is the verse and this is the chorus and it needs to be poppy and it needs to be, these kind of chords or these kind of lyrics. It was just using our intuition and kind of like taking what we had learned up to that point in life and channeling it into the song, like without intention.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we weren't trying to sound like or unlike Little Daylight at that point. I think we were just like really trying to explore what it meant for us to be making music as the two of us together, and just like really having fun, really getting into the experimentation phase, making some crazy stuff that like wouldn't lead to anything, or maybe it would, or and we had a little bit of time to play with, which was really fun. And so that's kind of what happened. And after we had actually spent some time together making these songs and then listening back to them, we were like, okay, like this feels a lot like a new project, not only because it's a different lineup, but also just the music feels really different. And that just happened really organically, like Eric said.
I like it. And I'm also curious because I love finding out the origins behind band names, but tell us how you got the name Me Not You.
That's a good one. So basically what happened was, we, as Little Daylight, the old band, we were obviously on a label, and, I would go into meetings with people in the music industry, label people and stuff like that. And just from a marketing perspective, people would sometimes say like, oh, like we really think that you should be like the face of the band. Cause at that time we were a trio, and they were like, we really think that it should be about you, and you're just like the face, and just have like none of the guys in it. And I kind of thought that was funny because I've never really considered myself in that light. I've always felt like this is a total band. So I would tell Eric like, hey, listen, like they want me, not you, but like.
And I'd be like, fuck that.
Yeah, we were like, I don't think that's really like how it should be. So that was just kind of like a little bit of a tongue in cheek. We decided to like just own it and make it sort of a funny thing for us. It's a little bit of an inside joke. Just because, it's obviously when there's a girl in the band, people are like, oh, let's just have like a girl step forward and make it about like, I don't know, fashion or whatever it is. But this band is like 100% a duo in every way. And so that's kind of the point of it.
And that's also why we decided to kind of cross me out on the first couple of covers we put out, because that would just be funny to be like, okay, fine, you just want her. Take it. I'm just a dude with his face crossed out, no big deal.
Because originally when I first heard it, I was thinking more of like when you're in a relationship or you're breaking up with someone, you're like, it's me, it's not you. It's not you, it's me.
Yeah, not you, it's me. Yeah.
And that's how I was thinking about it at first. But, that's why I always like asking, the reason behind band names, because there's almost always a story of how it got there. Very rarely is it we were just throwing around ideas and it stuck. So I was curious. Yeah. But that's an interesting story. And it's a clever concept, as an inside joke for you guys, but also applying it to your album cover and making it part of your persona as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
So
by the way, just so everyone is aware, Eric is coming out behind the scribble.
I do have a face.
He has a face.
Okay, good to know.
A good one.
I was under the impression that was your face.
Trump will give it a solid 8.
Nice. So excited for the day that I finally can see what's behind the scribble.
So you guys mentioned that you had toured the world a lot and you had done a lot of shows. Would you say that you prefer the live aspect of being a musician, or do you like being in the studio and writing and recording and all that?
Whichever one we haven't done more recently is the one we prefer. No, like right now, like we love being in the studio. It's amazing. We've been in the studio for a while now, and now we just like can't wait to get on the road. And then once we're on the road, after like 6 months, we'll be like, damn, I really want to get back in the studio. You know what I mean? It's like they're both amazing. They're the two sides of being in a band, and I don't think I could say I like one more than the other.
Yeah, agreed. I don't really get sick of doing either one. I have to say, like for me, I love playing live, but like probably my just moment that's my favorite of being in a band at all or making music at all is that moment when you're just first starting to write something and you have like one idea And all of a sudden you start to feel something coming together, and it's like, this is awesome, and then that's awesome, and it's like something is starting to feel like it's really happening. That's like, that creative spark is like, you know, it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, that's like such a gratifying feeling. That's probably like my favorite moment, but that's only like an hour, and then you go through like the slog of actually having to like put it together.
What do you dislike about being in the studio?
Dislike.
I have to say, we used to have a studio that was in the basement, and it was like during the summertime, and it was so beautiful outside, and we were just like not seeing the daytime at all. That was like really tough.
Yeah, in New York City, it's like hard to get good studio space, and you know, because it's an expensive place. So like we had a studio that was nice, and we were there for a year, but the one downside was it was underground, which is incredibly depressing. So at this point, like any studio we have has to have windows. That's like our new rule. Even if it's like a tiny room, it still has to have windows.
And I think a lot of people, when you talk about performing versus the writing process, I think everyone's like, oh, well, the performing's the fun part because you get to go out and you get to do shows. But I think there's the really special moments when you're recording, especially when you're in a band or you're in a duo or a trio, because you are basically holed up in a place for, you know, whatever extended period of time. And you're not only writing and actually working and putting in and having these mental creative breakdowns, but you're also spending a lot of quality time together where you're, you know, your whole band is there and you're all eating dinner, or you're all just bonding and trying to find that next big thing. And it can go from a couple of weeks to a few months and sometimes even a year, depending, you know, if you're getting anything or not. But there's something really special to that as well, because I think that's what really makes groups tighter and close knit as a, you know, as a family.
Yeah,
sure.
That and being on tour too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing like spending like a solid 24 hours a day together
For 2 months straight.
for 2 months straight in like a tiny band that really brings you together. So.
And then you get to the venue and you're like, you're going to go to that corner. I'm going to go to this corner. We're not going to talk for like an hour before we go on stage because we just need to breathe.
Totally.
So tell us a little bit about your writing process as well. Do you both write lyrics, or does it typically start out with the lyric, or does it start with the melody? Just kind of walk us through how an average song process goes.
Yeah, well, we could talk about Bulletproof and Relief. Kind of both were similar, right? Like,
yeah.
Both those two songs, and this is kind of the way we do it. Often, not always, but we'll start just by sitting down in the studio with nothing, right? And then usually I'm the one sitting at the actual computer, Nikki's next to me, and I'll start messing around with some sounds. So with Bulletproof, it was the kind of organy synth that starts off the song, and those chords, we started kind of playing them. Mm-hmm. And it was literally like a minute after I think we were playing that you started singing. If you started singing the melody, well, like the whole thing, like it was crazy. It was just like the whole thing came out, and like right away, by like 20 minutes in, the song was basically done. And then obviously we had to like record more instruments and hone in on some lyrics, but like it was very just stream of consciousness in that sense. And I think it was the sound of that synth and kind of the chords that inspired everything else that came out of that.
Yeah, and then with Relief was kind of a similar thing. Like Eric found this sound that also starts off the song, which is this kind of like this crazy synth glitchy sound. And we were like, oh, that's a weird sound, and we weren't really expecting to do anything with it. But
you were strumming a guitar, right?
Yeah, I was strumming a guitar, and he was playing that sound, and I just came up with notes that sounded good against it. And then it was the same thing, like the melody kind of came soon after that. So that's sort of, we just come from an experimental place and just start throwing around sounds and ideas, and we also write a lot. So we write a lot of songs that don't all see the light of day, but we're sort of like maximalists, I guess. We'll just like start doing something, then put it together, and then sleep on it for a few days, and you know, hopefully there's like an idea behind it, and then after a few days, if we're like really excited about it, then we know we've got something and we keep working on it.
It's hard being a writer because they're all like your little children and you're playing favorites, but there are certain ones that just stand out and you're like, I can't help but love this song.
Yeah, for sure. And the other thing is like that's why I think like sometimes something raises its hand when you're in the studio. Like I said before, my favorite moment of being in a band at all is like when you're writing something that you're like, okay, this is special. Like with Bulletproof and Relief, when you just start putting stuff together, and it's almost like you can't play a wrong note or like you can't add a wrong sound. It's like everything you're doing is like, oh yeah, that's awesome and that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of when you know. I mean, sometimes it feels a little more like work. You're like, okay, like now what's the chorus? And you spend like a couple hours on it, and you get good stuff that way too. But like when something's like just really happening, it happens fast a lot of the time, and that's kind of like how you know. One way.
It's the best feeling when it all happens super organically and all like, you know, without trying very hard.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, for us, sometimes the songs that end up being the best are the ones that happen that way. But then sometimes it's also a song that we like. We have a song that we haven't put out yet that's like, we produced it like 50 different times so far. We like know the song is really good, and we haven't been able to like figure out exactly like how it should sound. So we've done like a million. We look back in our like hard drive and we have like 50 different bounces of it, you know, from over the last year. And so sometimes that ends up yielding a good song as well. But definitely the most fun when it just happens like stream of consciousness and you're in and you're out in like a couple hours, and you know, and then you like can't stop listening to it for the next week.
But also Leonard Cohen took, 9 years or something with that story for the song Hallelujah. So I feel like if he can do that, then like if we produce a song 50 times, that's okay.
Yeah, and I think that sometimes you start a song with really high expectations, and then you take your couple days, and then you listen to it again, you're like, this is not as good as I thought it was. And then you come back and you visit it a year later or, 2 years later and be like, hey, that was a really solid idea, but what if we change this? And it turns into something totally different that you never expected it to.
Yeah, we do that all the time. Now, especially now that we've been kind of like making music as this for a little while, we do have some older ideas that we actually recently just dug up one that we just did as an acapella, as like a really quick idea one day. And then we decided to do a production to it and just like wrote this guitar line. Eric wrote this awesome guitar part that's like great, and we're like, oh, great, now the song has new life in it, and we're really excited about it. So yeah, that stuff happens all the time too.
I like it. Well, we have another song queued up for you guys. We have Relief now, and you kind of talked a little bit about how this came to be. So let's go ahead and take a listen to Relief by Me Not You.
I'll wait for 3 p.m.
dig the tones in that song.
I was about to say that the ending was really cool.
Relief by Me, Not You. So you guys are actually getting ready to release a music video on Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
For that song.
For Relief, right?
Lauren, did you tell me that this is gonna be dropped on Noisy?
I did.
Oh, that's
tell
really.
you that.
How did you guys link up with Noisy? That's a pretty cool accomplishment you got there.
Yeah, we just sent it over to them, and they wanted to premiere it. So we were like, cool, this is awesome.
Oh,
yeah,
that easy.
it was pretty. Yeah, it was pretty easy. So
Awesome. And so
we're excited. We're really excited. Yeah.
what can we expect from this video? Not to give anything away, but what can we expect to see?
Well, we had a $200,000 budget, so there's crazy celebrity. Yeah, it was actually $1 million. There was a lot of celebrities. I think the Kardashians are in there.
Yeah, I think they're in it.
Yeah.
First, a quick shot of them.
No, basically, yeah, I don't want to give too much away, but it's just kind of what we sort of envisioned for the video. We're super pumped with how it came out. A buddy of ours just came up from Philly, and we decided to kind of make it really DIY and rockin' and a lot of live performance, and just kind of went for it. It was a really fun video to make. It happened in a day.
What song was it for?
Not in New York City. We definitely wanted to capture the city we live in, and we did. It feels like New York to us.
Yeah, and this is also your first chance to really get your image out there besides, the photos that you have put up for the singles or whatever. But this is, you guys there really showing off what this group is all about.
Yeah, totally. And we couldn't be more pumped with how it came out. So we're really excited to share it with everyone. And yeah, it's great. I'm really looking forward to it.
So everybody make sure you go check that out on Wednesday on Noisy. And so you guys have these two singles. You have Bulletproof and you have Relief. Are you guys working on an EP? Are you working on an album? What can we expect next to come from you guys?
We are working on a lot of songs. We have a bunch of songs ready to go. And we're actually right now at the point where we're trying to figure out if we're going to put out an EP or not, and it's looking like we are going to. We really want to get more music out there quickly. I know in 2017 it's obviously about the songs more than the collection.
Yeah.
And some people have advised us just keep putting out songs, and I don't know. We like the idea of collecting stuff and making it all make sense with each other. So I think we have 5 songs that will make a really cool EP. We think so. We're just going to say fuck it and drop an EP, and then people could listen to the songs, in that context instead of one by one.
I think it's hard for musicians, too, because it's
we're also kind of a little old school in terms of, liking albums and things that sort of feel more like a cohesive idea. We have some songs, I mean, whether it's on the EP or not, I'm not sure, but we have some songs that are sort of little sort of interstitial songs or ideas that came about, just because we weren't trying to make every song a hit single. We were just trying to create and do stuff that felt cool to us. So we have a few things that are just little ideas or little musical asides. So we just felt overall everything really just made more sense as a part of a group like an EP.
Yeah, I think it's hard for musicians because we all have this vision in our head and have these songs that are oh, these would fit together and they tell a really great story and we can do an EP or we can do an album and really get the story across. But as far as consumers today in the musical that did not make sense. But in consuming music, people just want singles. We're in a pick and choose environment where people are listening to Spotify and they take their favorite songs off an album and put them on a playlist and never listen to the rest of the album again, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, we've been there before. That's kind of how it was in, the 40s and the 50s. But for us, it's kind of hard because we want to release all this music. We want to have it be a story and have it all kind of be grouped together. But at the same time, that's not how it's being absorbed by the public. So it's a very interesting contrast.
Yeah, but don't you also feel we might be flipping back a little bit? Because I feel this year there were some amazing albums that people are listening to as albums. I'm thinking of the Beyonce album and Frank Ocean's album. It's not really as much about the songs. I mean, I don't know if either of those have any huge hit singles, but it's everybody's listening to the whole album. So I think it's definitely not the majority of artists, but I kind of hope that we might be moving back in that direction.
Yeah, I would love it too. And there's definitely the exceptions. I mean, The Weeknd's new album, everyone was raving about. There wasn't a particular song that really... Yeah. I mean, there's, Starboy, but the rest of it kind of...
Starboy's pretty sweet.
The rest of it kind of came along with it. Everyone was talking about the album itself. So it's an interesting flow and watching it kind of weave in and out and how people are taking it. And vinyl's also making a comeback and people are buying records because they do like the sound of it. They like the quality. They like listening to something all the way through. So I'll be interested to see over the next couple of years how that all kind of evolves.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. And I also think that there's something to like, that you mentioned playlisting and, the whole like influence Spotify's had. But even though it is kind of a single thing, like, hopefully if someone does hear a song that they like from an artist they may never have heard of otherwise, they can then go back and discover the artist on their own right. I love doing that all the time. Like I just put on Spotify radio for a band I already like, and then I find someone else and I'm like, oh, this guy's great. I just discovered Sam Evian, who's an awesome singer-songwriter, just the other day. And it's great. I went back and listened to his album now. I'm obsessed with it. So, hopefully in an ideal world, even though people just find one song at a time, they can become fans and listen to your whole output that way.
I like it. I like the positivity that comes from it. So we have just a couple minutes left, but I want to make sure that we get your social media. Everyone knows where they can find you and stalk you and follow you and absorb all your new music.
Yep, we're our name is always Me Not You Band, the same on all of them, and we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and SoundCloud. So I think we're not on Snapchat. We're on everything else.
Got to get on the Snapchat.
You can't see us wearing festival flower headdresses yet, but maybe someday.
It's coming at some point.
We'll get there. We got something we have to look forward to. You got to keep us in the dark, so we keep coming back for something more.
Exactly.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us and taking the time out of your Sunday to talk about this music. Everyone, make sure to go check out Me Not You. Their 2 new songs, Bulletproof and Relief. Their new video dropping on Wednesday via Noisy. And anything else you guys want to add?
No, I think we're good.
I think you got it all. Thank you so much. This has been
the
really
best first
fun.
interview ever.
Well, thank you for trusting us with this first interview. It has been our pleasure. And make sure whenever you have new music that comes out, send us a note, and we would love to have you back on to promote whatever else you guys got coming up.
And I want to see your guys' live show. So when you guys come out to LA, definitely let us know.
We'll definitely be out there in the next couple months, we promise.
Perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your Sunday, and we will talk to you guys later.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Bye. That was Me Not You.
They're such cool people.
Yeah, definitely.
I like them.
And, they have such a long history playing music.
Yeah.
Even though this is a new band, they have so much experience, and they're kind of bringing that into this new project. And it's really cool to see how they've evolved over the years.
You guys definitely need to stay tuned for them because they're a band to watch for 2017.
I agree. So we're just about to wrap up this show, but next week, so we pre-tape our episodes, a couple of them. Some of our episodes we pre-tape. Today we will be pre-taping an episode. We're going to give our Grammy predictions on the next show. However, the show will air next Sunday.
After the Grammys.
After the Grammys. So this is going to be fun because we're going to guess who we think is going to win and see how wrong we are or how right we are, depending. And it will be a lot of fun. So make sure you tune in next week to hear all about our Grammy talk. We're also going to be playing some new music that we like and whatever we're kind of jamming to right now. And it's going to be an all-around good time.
I'm Sean Lusk.
I'm Lauren Dair Owens. This has been The Music Project. See you guys next week.
Later.
In the future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.